Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were going racing with the British touring cars, all completely stock with the standard tuning setup. Our first race, we would go to Monza, and as you can imagine, my Audi was a little bit mullered by the rear-wheel drive BMWs off the line, although things went a little bit wrong through turn one for the BMWs. A couple of them bumped each other together, ending up with one of them out quite wide. Amazingly, turn one went pretty well for such a nasty chicane. Most of the cars got through there without too much damage. I had got myself back up into second and was having a look for a way to try and get past the leader. And you can see we'd already pulled a nice little gap back to the chasing pack. However, everything went terribly wrong into the next corner, where a couple of cars got turned around, and then it was all chaos unfolded behind us. But that didn't matter to us at the front. We were side by side. I got up the inside of a BMW. He got really lucky. Had a wheel out on the dirt there. Managed to keep that thing pointing in the correct direction, and I had managed to get my Audi to the front. Further back, the cars that had made it through the second chicane were all in a really rather crowded bunch coming down this back straight up towards the Ascari. We've got a group of Audis here as the blue car has a look at the inside. No one was quite sure where to brake with these cars for the first time around this track. There was a little bit of bumping from some cars further back, but this lot all made it through these chicanes relatively well. One thing that we were seeing is that the Toyotas tended to be pretty good through the corners. The Audis did seem to be pretty decent in a straight line, although here at Monza, because the straights are so long, if you're sat in the slipstream like the Toyota is at this moment in time, you could get a lovely long tow around this track. The two Audis we're following here still side by side all the way around the Parabolica. The blue car just remains the entire way around the outside, but can't quite get his car across, and they're both catching the vehicle ahead as they're both getting a little bit of slipstream as we all now rush down towards turn one. This circuit was a little bit of... I wanted to include Monza. I wasn't sure how good these cars were going to be around here because of the really long straights. Turns out touring cars, really good fun to race around Monza. This group, though, weren't quite close enough to the white Audi ahead of them to really do anything into the first corner, although they would remain close, fighting amongst themselves. There was another Toyota trying to make his way up through the field, gets alongside the Audi on the way out of Ascari. We've got another Audi catching this group very quickly. I mean, you see the slipstream effect as the two Audis kind of slipstream train their way, trying to get up the inside of the Toyota. But the Toyota does have good grip around the outside of Parabolica, and as the two cars ahead of this group got into a tangle, they're almost going 5 wide, coming on towards the main straight. I'm not sure that's the best idea. They all get away with it. Again, there'll be a little bit of paint swapping going on there, but five wide on the extra Parabolica is pretty impressive. But the Toyota can't quite get himself alongside. They all kind of duck back in. You can see that the straight line speed of the Audi is pretty impressive. The black Audi is now having a look up the inside. He isn't close enough to do anything. The blue Audi overshoots the corner, but in doing so, of course, you run across the curbs and the bumps. You have a terrible exit, which slows him down. The Toyota is up the inside for the next corner. The next corner, though, in these cars is easy flat out, and the Audi has got the speed to keep alongside again all the way around the outside of another corner, and then we head up towards the chicane, but the Toyota is just that little bit too far back. At the front, I'd made a silly mistake into the first chicane and lost a lot of time and dropped back to second. However, the leader, unfortunately, had managed to bugger his engine up. Not quite sure how. And, when we're all racing touring cars and they're all identical, a damaged engine is going to cause you a lot of trouble, which meant that, pretty much came breezing past. Curbs here are a little bit nasty if you hit them too hard, as I was finding out. Yeah, you could get the cars, you're never going to roll them here. You get them certainly up onto two wheels a little bit if you were a little too aggressive and bounced across the curbs. Yeah, of all the tracks to have a damaged engine, this is not the place that you want it, because it is so much straight line speed involved around here. Further back, and there was a Toyota and a Mercedes were having a battle. A BMW was trying to join in. The Beamers were struggling. The BMWs are not the easiest cars to drive. They are quite oversteery. They're certainly not as easy to get around a track as the rest of the field. The Toyota had managed to get himself to the inside and past the Mercedes as they come down towards these chicanes. Very important getting the right braking point through here. It's so easy just to overshoot a little bit as we see the Toyota runs a bit wide, and when you start clobbering the curb, you're going to slow yourself down so much rejoining the track. Now the Mercedes is right back alongside. Mercedes is up the inside. This is a tough overtaking place as well to get a car past, and the BMW was doing what BMWs like to do, or certainly these touring car ones like to do, and that was be quite sideways to the inopportune moments, and again we see the BMW sliding, and yeah, the Toyota dropped back. At the front, I would lead the remaining laps of the race. By the end, the gap is a little bit flattering. The second place was gradually catching. After my mistake on the opening lap, I was being a little cautious into the chicanes. Second place was slowly catching me. However, on the final lap, he pushed it too much, and he ended up on the gravel. So I would go on to take victory, and it would be an Audi 1-2-3-4 here at Monza. Yeah, one thing that really did impress me was how much fun these cars were at driving around this circuit. Despite a lot of it being flat out, a lot of it being long straights, the touring cars, fantastic fun to race around Monza. Race number 2, we would go to Road Atlanta. Now, Road Atlanta has been the scene of many versus the communities. We're doing it for the short layout of this one, and this tends to be a pretty good track for these things. Oh, how times have changed. Turn 1, things went a little bit wrong between a Mercedes and a Toyota. Just trying to fit too many cars into the same space of track, and an Audi would make up a huge bunch of positions and get himself into the lead as these guys continued to squabble on their run down the hill. The Mercedes trying to go side by side with the Toyota eventually has to duck back into line. Does an impressive maneuver though around the outside. This is a really quite a long corner, and despite the BMW wiggling around with some oversteer, the Mercedes is around the outside of the Toyota and just about gets himself alongside the BMW as well. That's quite a long way to go around the outside, and as we come towards the chicane for the first time, Mercedes is on the inside, the BMW gets hung out wide to dry and can't do anything as the Toyota comes past as well. You can see the gap the Audi has made in just a couple of corners while everyone else was fighting. There's another one of the Toyotas. This was perhaps a little bit more of a Toyota track in some respects. With their decent grip, they were trying to cut their way through the field. This one here, having a look at the outside of the final corner on a BMW and manages to make the move stick, scares the BMW. I think an Audi may have ended up in the back of the Beamer on that one. The reason why this track is now quite mean, the tyre bundles are in some really, really bad positions. This Toyota just simply outdrags the car ahead of him as they ran up the hill. Yeah, you got to get a good exit out of that first corner. I was in a battle over third place, and after a slightly failed move, the Toyota and a Mercedes were joining in the fun of this little battle, and things were looking really good. Things were really quite good fun at this moment in time. However, disaster would strike. The Mercedes outbraked himself into the chicane. I cut back, which is what I was planning on doing as he rejoined the track. We all managed to avoid him. Problem was, I'm now stuck on the outside, coming towards the final corner. There's a Toyota on the inside. I get a little bit too much understeer and end up going wide through this final corner. Problem is, I clip the tyre bundles, which stops my car instantly and throws it back out into the middle of the road. Now, if the tyre bundles aren't there, you just brush off the wall. But yeah, I hit it literally with the wing mirror on the tyre bundle, but that stopped the car and threw it in the road. That was not the only incident. That was the most spectacular. I apologise to the two Mercedes that got killed in that one. It was my bad on that. But there was a number of incidences, including the leader Audi got taken out when a car smacked into the wall at that place. There was a huge rate of attrition, and a number of them coming at that final corner, because if you ran a little bit too wide through there, the seconds you hit that tyre bundle, it would throw your car back out into track. And if there's anyone around, which let's face it, when there's 20 odd cars on the track, likely to be somebody. Yeah, you can see all of the cars, a huge number of cars were broken around the circuit. A lot of vehicles just simply giving up. There were a few accidents not caused by tyre bundles, but certainly that final corner was a real problem area for this circuit. So if we run this track again in the future, that's a place to be really wary of. At the front though, it was the Mercedes. As I said, the leader Audi got taken out by a backmarker that crashed into the tyre bundles on that final corner. The Mercedes would go on to take victory from a Toyota in second, and I think a Toyota also ended up in third. But yeah, it wasn't a particularly good race, that one. So many cars. I think about 7 cars finished. So yeah, less than ideal, that one. Our final race would go to the Circuit of the Americas, the west route for this. One of the Toyotas stalled off the line, dropping him a long way back through the pack. Turn 1 here was always likely to be interesting. So many different lines you can potentially take, and sure enough, there was a fair bit of chaos further back. I quite like this circuit. It's a little bit of a strange one to get used to, as a couple of Toyotas are going side by side through the S. I seem to be about the only person that kind of enjoys driving this particular layout of the circuit. I was started down towards the back and had an awful lot of work to be doing. I mean, there's plenty of cars were fighting side by side on this opening lap, a few of them escaping off onto the gravel. The Toyota we're following here was about to come under fire from a Mercedes. The problem with this track is, as good a layout as it is, I do quite like it, because the corners are so wide, you can take so many different lines, and cars kind of are quick at different points in a corner. It often causes accidents, really, especially when people are not quite so used to the track and so on. So yeah, it was a little bit of a gamble putting this one in the races. For me, as I said, I started down towards the back, got involved in someone else's accident as they came across the track, so I had a lot of work to be doing. I was fighting with another Audi as we come around turn 1. You can have a dive up the inside, but if you end up taking too shallow a line, you're very, very slow off the corner. So I could keep the momentum around the outside that would keep me the position. I had a really good run down to turn 2 and through the S's, which put me up alongside a Mercedes, and I got the pass done through there as well. And ahead there was another couple of Audis and a Toyota were fighting over position, and if you get a good run through the S's, you're sorted through this next corner, as I could simply drive past the Audi there, because I had that really, really nice run. Yeah, if you can get it sorted through that section really, really fast. If you get it wrong, though, you are in a fair bit of trouble. Admittedly, while I had expected this to be a little bit of a pain, there was a lot more close racing going on in this particular race as cars tried to make their way through the field. One thing I did notice, with having like 24 car lobbies now, if you get stuck at the back, it is very, very hard to make your way through the order, because there's just so many cars to get tangled up with in battles and so on. It is an awful lot of work to cut your way through the field. I mean, this group here, we're all looking for trying to find a way past, as everybody is slightly exploring at that particular corner. The Mercedes is closing on the Toyota, while an Audi out ahead of them is running a little bit wide. An Audi behind them is having a look for a manoeuvre. One place that a lot of cars had a look, but very few overtakes actually happen at this second to last corner. It's a strange corner. It looks like it would be a good overtaking opportunity, but very few cars actually got manoeuvres done. The final corner here, that was a good place for getting overtakes done. The Mercedes here has a dive up the inside. It looks like he was going to get it sorted. The Toyota had such a good run out of the corner. He does a cutback and gets to the inside towards turn 1. There's another Toyota tried to join in. There's an Audi. Mercedes is coming up to join the fray, but we've seen if you're stuck on the inside here, you end up taking quite a shallow line, and the green Toyota just can't get the drive off the turn. The Mercedes had a big dive at turn 1, but again took such a shallow line that he couldn't do anything about it, and the Mercedes was having a look at the side of the Audi, but couldn't quite get a manoeuvre to stick at this moment in time. It's one of these races that there's an awful lot of going on. There's lots of different battles. There were cars at the front in little groups having fights. There were cars in the middle, cars further back. We're all having their own little squabbles. Again, we see a car having a go at the inside of the second to last corner, and they're not really quite working for him. However, the grey Audi here goes defensive. The blue car has not really got anywhere to go, but they're being caught by another Audi with a much better run off of the turn. The blue car goes to the inside, but we saw this time and time again. Getting to the inside of the first corner is not necessarily going to work. If you take that too tight of a line, you're just too slow off the corner, and the grey car was hoping to be able to keep it around the outside. This time around, though, he couldn't quite make it stick, and we've got another car about to join in the fun. There's plenty of multiple car battles. As the race progressed, it became a 4-car battle for the lead. The blue Toyota had started on pole and managed to just make a little bit of a gap while everybody sort of worked their way through the field. However, that was closing towards the end of the race. The two Mercedes were going side by side through such a long corner to be going side by side. The black Mercedes tries to keep himself to the inside. He's alongside but can't quite make it stick. into that corner, and in doing so he's now compromised himself. The white Toyota is sniffing about, having a look, tried to get to the inside of the final turn, couldn't quite do it. The two Mercedes have a little bit of a bump, a little bit of a coming together, and that works in favour certainly of the blue Toyota that's leading, but also to the white car. He gets himself up to third, and he's now on the inside, almost on the run down towards the first corner. Doesn't quite have the acceleration to keep his car alongside the Mercedes, and then it's all single file through here, but incredibly close between all of the vehicles as we now head back down towards the S's. Yeah, it was good to see. Good to see a big four-car battle for the lead of this race, and it carried on for the last few laps. This was it was just a constant battle between these cars, all looking to try to find a way past the leader, but of course they'd end up fighting each other so much that you just give the leader a little bit of a breather. There's ignore the green lagged out Mercedes, that's just hanging around there. I mean, even you saw the leader there make a little bit of a mistake, run a little bit too wide, but because these cars have been so busy fighting one another the corner before, he could get away with it, and it certainly helps when you've got this size of a pack fighting amongst themselves. Still, the white Toyota is looking to the inside. In the end, the Mercedes just runs out of grip, runs a little bit wide, and now we're trying to go 3 wide. That's not... 3 wide is not a good idea, and sure enough, the silver Mercedes on the outside runs out of grip. That was never likely to work out that wide. We have the black Mercedes is again to the inside at the second to last corner, and he can't quite do it. And silver Mercedes is exploring a little bit, and still the blue Toyota led the race. For me, it wasn't my greatest of races. Yeah, I felt quite a long way back off the start and was gradually working my way through the order. I just ran out of laps to really do anything. I was fighting for 10th, and sure enough, just got a better run through the S's. Got to the inside, was very, very close between me and a Toyota as we turned through that next section. Yeah, my Audi was only going to be able to climb my way up to 10th. Certainly, with so many cars in the lobby, there was plenty of people to race with, but it sometimes meant that, yeah, you struggled to work your way to the front of the field. And speaking of the front of the field, there was to be a change of position. The blue Toyota just ran a little bit too wide, and well, as soon as you give an invitation like that, as we headed on to the final lap, the white car was always going to take the opportunity. But it's not over and done with yet as we come up towards turn 1. The blue car goes for a cutback and actually gets a really, really good run out of turn 1. However, that does put him on the outside. The two Mercedes behind are doing exactly the same thing. He's on the outside for the first part of the S's, then on the inside for the next bit. Unfortunately, he just carries a little too much speed, and after almost the entire race of leading the way, just that one little mistake has cost him position to the Mercedes, and again, just trying to carry that little too much speed. Only takes a little bit to get out of position there, and now that puts you in all sorts of trouble. And the Mercedes spotted his opportunity as well, as the two Toyotas had slowed each other down through the S's. The Mercedes had got the chance, dove up the inside, and would take the lead. And now the Toyotas got company from behind as well, with the other Mercedes having a look. I think the blue car may have had a dive at the Mercedes there, and that not quite have come off. It was an incredible battle at the front between these four. However, the silver Mercedes, with an opportune overtake on the Toyota, was going to be able to take victory, and the other cars had no real time to respond. Yeah, really rather exciting race for the four cars at the front. It would be a Mercedes first and a Mercedes third, with the Toyotas second and fourth. Audis didn't fare particularly well in this one. The Audis were further down. I think it was about 6th place, perhaps. The highest place Audi, and this was the highest place Audi on the final lap, coming under increasing pressure from another Toyota. This one here, it looks like the Audi's got a really big lead coming to this corner, but he runs in too deep, doesn't quite get turned in soon enough, runs wide, and now the Toyota's all over the back of him. But again, we see the dive at the second to last corner not really work for the offences, and now the Audi behind, as these guys have fought. There's one corner, and the grey Audi has caught right up to this group. He's up the inside of the Toyota. The leader of this little group hits the curb and gets very, very sideways, so is incredibly slow off the final corner. The Toyota's up alongside, but doesn't quite have the speed to get past the Audi. The Audi holds off the Toyota, and the white Audi the silver Audi, at the back of the group couldn't do anything about the pair of them. Yeah, Circuit of the Americas, I quite like the track. There were a few bumps here and there along the way. I thought it was quite good fun. Monza was fantastic, definitely the best circuit of the three for these touring cars. Road Atlanta, I like the circuit, but dear God, the tyre bundle at the final corner is super, super dangerous. That's far more dangerous than I was expecting. So yeah, you definitely have got to be quite wary of running wide out of that final corner. Anyway, that is it for this week's FailRace versus the community. The next one shall be held on Thursday, the 1st of October. We're going to be on Forza 6 Racing Hot Hatches in B class. These are the cars that the game counts as hot hatches. If you go to multiplayer lobby, set the division to hot hatch, and then you'll see the cars that are available. And if you want to sign up and take part in that event, then you can go to our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section and you can sign up in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.